I was watching a program maybe 20 years ago on television, and people were talking, and one guy just said something real simple. He says, "You know you're getting old when you can no longer find your favorite cookie." So I was in my head, and pinwheels were my favorite. Uh, I don't know when I started eating them, but it was probably about 1972. I graduated tech school. I got a job, and my mother started charging me rent. And she would say she's going shopping for food order for the week, and she'd say, "What do you want?" And I'd say, "Get me a package of pinwheels." So they became a foolish pleasure. Once a week, I'd eat a package of pinwheels, and my mother started charging me rent. My sister never had to pay rent. I had a job; I had to pay rent. And if I was out of work, she would double my rent. I had to pay $35 a week, and then it went to 50 a week if I was out of work. So anyway, that was to encourage me to get another job. Well, anyway, Pinwheels was part of the deal. She would do my wash, and she'd buy the pinwheels. And at one point, we had a sugar shortage, and the pinwheels got up to I think $4. They're $6 now, but way back then, they got up to $4. And my mother was complaining. I said, "No, no, it's part of the deal." I said, "When I'm out of work, you double my rent," and I was never part of the deal. Well, anyway, so for years I'm eating pinwheels, never thinking about it. One day I go food shopping. My parents had passed on. I could tell you it was over 20 years ago, and let's see, so 20 years off of 23, so it was 2000, around 2000, 2003. I go food shopping. I'm going up and down the cookie aisle. There's no pinwheels. So, no problem. I grab Malamars. Malamars are very similar. So anyway, now pinwheels, they have a cookie in the bottom, marshmallow on top, and then chocolate covered. For you that used to eat them, couldn't get them anymore, but here it is in the flesh. Let's see if we're still in the frame. And they're a foolish pleasure. They're very sweet. Now, if you've never had a pinwheel before, and you're older, you might eat it and say, "This is too sweet." I can't. But the aficionados like myself that really like something that's sweet early in the morning. Now, I'll eat four of these with a banana and a glass of milk. And you'll say, "That's disgusting." Well, I'm 73 years old. All the people that used to pick on my diet, they're all dead. So that's all I have to say about that. Not exercising and smoking, you'll kill yourself early. Well, anyway, so I go to the store, like 2002, 2003, whatever it was, and I pick up the Malamars. And then the next time I go, still no pinwheels. So I go over to the manager, who I knew, and I say, "You don't have pinwheels?" And he goes, "Oh, they stopped making them." I said, "Really?" I said, "They're my favorite." And I told him, I said, "Yeah." I said, "I saw this guy on TV." He said, "You know you're old when you no longer can buy your favorite cookie." So he starts laughing. He goes, he says, "Funny thing is, there were people, a lot of people are still asking for them. It's not like," I said, "Well, maybe they got too expensive to make. They're more, you get 12 of them for, back then that would be $5, and now they're $6. So they're 50 cents a cookie. And some people don't like to pay that much. They don't realize, the inflation. But if you really like pinwheels and that you've had them for your whole life and they're your favorite cookie, you would understand." So I leave there talking to him, and I just happen to be at the dairy, and I'm getting a milk or a sandwich made or whatever, and I'm talking to the girl. I said, "Yeah," I said, she mentioned something. I said, "Yeah," I said, "You're old when your favorite cookie, you can't find your favorite cookie. They don't make it anymore." So I just had it happen to me. I told her the whole pinwheel story. So a few days later, I went in there, and the woman had bought me some Malamars, and I had not told her that. Uh, I knew that they were about the same. So every once in a while, she'd buy me a package of Malamars because I had done her a couple favors. Well, anyway, it's going on and on and on, and I moved here to Lancaster, and I'm going down the aisle, and I'm looking at different cookies, and they didn't have Malamars. So I went reading online about pinwheels, and people were like, they're starting to stock pinwheels in the stores. And I'm like, what's going on? I read people like pissed when they pulled them. They were still selling. Blah, 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 blah. Then there are people say they don't taste as good as they used to. There's all these, you know those people. They haven't bought pinwheels, the new ones, but they chime in. They make stuff up. So I'm in Walmart, and all of a sudden, a few weeks later, all of a sudden, up on the shelf, up real high, I see them. And I'm like, no way. So I bought a package and I ate. I'm thinking of that guy. They don't taste the same. I put one in my mouth and I started eating. I go, all right, this is definitely better than a Malamar. And you put it in your mouth, and then the second one it gets. All right, now they might have made a slight change to the chocolate, but I was able to get past that. So Pepsi has changed over the years too, but I still drink it. Uh, anyway, Coca-Cola has changed, but I'll still drink it if I have to. But there's certain things in life that you want it to be there. Now, over here, let me get it in the frame. This is a holiday radio. I've recapped it twice. I made a special bracket to hold the volume control. This is my first radio that I had. Let's see, it would be 1959, 52. So I was around 6.5 years old, whatever it was, when I got this. Still works, still got it. But, once in a while I bring it out and look at it. And it's a keepsake. But there are so many things in life that just disappear. Now, one of the things that disappears is people you grew up with, they move away. You never ever see them again. You might hear that they're dead or where they're living now, but they abandon you. People move away. Family members die. But I had this thing in my life, pinwheels. It was a constant, and then it went away, and I kind of walked around a little weird, and we got talking. The woman goes, "It's really bothering me." I said, "Well," it's the history of my mother coming home with the food order and going, "Son of a bitch, I forgot your pinwheels," and that was part of the deal. And one time, my father actually took her back to the store to get them, and that's what's so funny about them. And they're good. For me, they're very sugary, probably for most people, but I like them. And it's more than just a cookie, all right? It's the fact that there's something that stays the same in my life, and that's why below this package of cookies is a radio. And I just got done working on it, and I'm slowly cleaning it, the dust off it, and all in the cracks. Clean the cabinet, put it back together because I'm done with it. I finished it, and that's one of the things that consistent in my life is I like working on radios. And some people, when you bring a radio home, there's certain chemicals that happen in your brain. The same with people that see an old car, and they'll walk over, and the guy will lift the hood up for the guy, and the guy will look in on the engine and see that it's either a Chevy short block or slant six. You're looking at these things where you can see each individual part. It's not a big hunk of plastic covers. And I understand that. Then that's what's going on with people. You want something in your life that's sort of a standard. It doesn't change. It's always there. Now, in my case, I always lived in the house I grew up in. And then Jersey got too expensive. Your buddy that's the president was going to build a golf course there, and he never did. Things went so bad there. And most of my friends were starting to move away. And since I came out here, they either moved away or died. And I'm like, wow. I got the one person I worked with. He's still there. There are a couple of those. But in other words, as you move through life, things change. Everything changes. And, you look in the mirror and you've gotten older. And you want something that's sort of like, it's a standard. It's always there. And I tell you, I'm walking in the store and I couldn't find the pinwheels. And then the guy said to me, "They don't make them anymore." And he says, really funny thing is, there's people still asking for them. So they do have a following. And some of you won't understand that. But it's the other one would be a beer. Ballantine beer. When I grew up, hey, get your cold beer. Hey, get your Ballantine. Okay, Ballantine beer. I think it was in Newark, New Jersey. So's on the other side of Newark by Elizabeth is Budweiser. And in New Jersey, we had a lot of German population, and a lot of beer was made. And we have beer companies that got bought out, and then they let it die. They let the brand die. There were bread companies that made bread. Anyway, you watch everything progress and disappear. Now, I have one neighbor. He worked for Budweiser, and his brother worked for Ballantine. And I think indirectly, Ballantine was bought somehow by Pepsi. He would not have Pepsi in his house, and he was very serious about it. And I did him a lot of favors, and he'd always bring me out some no-name cola, and I'd say, if you really liked me, and I do you a lot of favors, you would bring me Pepsi. And then he'd go into the Ballantine story. I guess indirectly Pepsi. Anyway, he could name all the different sub companies in that way back when, and in his mind, Ballantine uh, it was supposed to be around forever, but he outlived Ballantine, and that's what happens. I could go through candy. When you grew up as a kid, uh, there were all these different candies, and when I was growing up, they rotated. We had whistles made out of wax that you could chew. We had chewing wax, and then they don't make that anymore. Online, there's places that'll sell you this stuff. There's an online candy store that remakes the old candies. Well, one of them was Bonomo's Turkish Taffy. It almost became like an urban legend about it. Candy. In order to eat it, you couldn't. It was taffy. You just couldn't pull a piece off it. You would close up the thing. It was a foil package, and you would smack it. And in the movie theater, you would smack it on the arm of the chair, and it would break up into little pieces. And then you would chew it, and you get stuck in your teeth. The whole thing. It wasn't a great candy, but it took a while to eat it. So when you went to the movie theater and you bought certain candies, you would remember opening the package, eating a couple, and you remember the last one. Same with sort of the popcorn. So if you had Bonomo's Turkish Taffy, sometimes we would stop and get it in a candy store, and we would have it in the theater, save some money that way. But Bonomo's Turkish Taffy just disappeared. And then they sort of brought it back. Someone claimed they were at a baseball game and they were selling it. And I read online, and it's back. That candy store online has it, but it's not a great candy. But it's a memory, and you remember smacking it. You remember when you're chewing it, it would rip a filling out of your tooth, and you had to go to the dentist. It had a lot of wacky memories to it. And then one time, one of my friends smacked it on his brother's head, and it worked. It was hilarious. But those are the things, you're in the store and you're looking at. Now, I can tell you my father's favorite cookies. One was Vanilla Fingers. They're a cookie that's shaped in an oval with white stuffing in it, or white cream in between the layers. They're like an Oreo, but it's a vanilla outside cookie. All right. And that I haven't seen them in years. And the other ones are hilarious. He would buy them because me and my sister wouldn't eat them. They were like an oatmeal cookie shaped like a windmill with pecans, sliced pecans in it, and or maybe walnuts, whatever they were. I believe they were pecans. And he'd have those cookies, and he'd eat them even though they were stale. It's just funny. And then after a while, me and my sister, when we ran out of our cookies, we started developing a taste for the windmill cookies. See, when you got nothing, and there's probably almost no sugar in the windmill cookies, and pinwheels are like 100% on the meter as far as sugar. If you're diabetic, it probably could get you really sick eating a pinwheel. But I just wanted to tell you, that's the thing. Guys, just something simple like, you've gotten old when your favorite cookie's missing. The guy, guys, his words just leave his mouth. A couple weeks later, I'm in a store, and where's my favorite cookie? And I'm that guy's going through my head. Now, many times now, when I go to the cookie aisle in like Walmart or anywhere, there'll be a woman in there, and they don't want to see you getting their favorite cookie, and it's a whole funny thing if you pay attention to it. And I'll say to a woman, and some of them they're like 50s, maybe they're diabetic and they shouldn't be getting cookies, but I'll say to them, you know, when you're old. You know that you've gotten old when they don't have your favorite cookie. And the Walmart aisle for cookies is quite large. That's why I think I can get the pinwheels there. But I don't even. The other cookie I would want, Chips Ahoy, has the soft cookie. It's got. I was starting to buy the big family pack of Chips Ahoy, and I've stopped. I started putting weight on. I just like. I went into this thing where I would eat less, and I was losing weight. I was like, all of a sudden, with the election and all the nonsense in the country, I've been eating a lot of comfort food, and I started putting on weight, and I'm having trouble walking and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so I'm back on course again, but it's stress, and and I told you there's more involved in something than you see. It's like you always wanted a certain radio, you always wanted a certain car. Maybe it's a motorcycle. Uh, I don't know if it goes further than that. Those are the big ones for me. When you actually touch an old radio that you always wanted or buy it, chemicals in your brain actually change and you feel pleasure and happiness. Now, I overdid the radio hobby. I have a whole room full of them and they're stacked like cordwood. And I've gotten every type of radio. And then I realized a lot of the circuits are RCA. Way back in like 1947 radios to 58. They're the same circuit, and they work really good on AM broadcasts. And that's one of my collectors. My collection is those type of radios. But I just want to show you pinwheels. I mentioned the pinwheels, and someone said they couldn't find them, but they're out there, and they're still Nabisco. Now I don't know if Nabisco who it's owned by, but that Nabisco symbol used to fly around on the screen of the TV when Sky King was on, and he didn't have one specific cookie. I believe it was just Sky King by Nabisco. But when it would play in reruns, that triangle for Nabisco would fly around on the screen, at least in the New York area. And I didn't realize the pinwheels were Nabisco. It's just like my mother would say, "I'm going to the store, and what do you want?" I said, "Come on, the pinwheels. Give me my pinwheel." "They're getting to be expensive." I said, No, it's part of the contract. I said, "When I'm out of work, you double the rent on me." I want to tell you, after my mother died, the first thing my father said to me, we come back for the funeral, we're in the car, we're going to get my mother's insurance policy to pay off the mortuary. No, I don't like remembering those names, but the funeral parlor. And he turns to me and he says, "I'm not going to charge you rent." He says, "Your mother charged you rent, and then she doubled it when you're out of work. And then you still helped out at home. I've helped put sinks in and all. I did all the maintenance on the house with my father." And he says, "That wasn't fair." But from that point on, I had to go get my own pinwheels. It is what it is. I think that's it. All right, that's it.